Okay guys, so we have the part 2 key mixing open here. So we're going to start to kind of introduce the structure that I'm going to teach you guys in order to kind of combine multiple keys. And so we haven't covered despilling yet and all the despilling methods. And we'll basically do that in this section. But essentially what we're going to do is kind of build everything off to the left here. So we have our original footage, and we're going to basically just create the alpha on this left side here. So we're kind of splitting this into two pipes. We have like the alpha that we're going to create, and then we have the color or the despilled image. And if you remember in the normal keyer, for example, in a key light, we remember that three-step process that's happening in there. So in this key light, we have an alpha created. And let me just make this more obvious. I'll just make it a different color here so we can kind of see it. So we have an alpha created. We have a despill applied, despill, and we have a pre-multiply. So I'll switch this one, pre-multiply. So those three things are happening all inside this node, and our final output is this final pre-multiplied image. So instead of doing this way, what we're going to do is kind of use a key light or use different keyers to only do the alpha part. So we're ignoring the despill. We're only creating a black and white alpha, and we'll copy that back in. So we can separate these two processes. So instead of these two happening inside of here, we're going to use a lot of nodes to do this and a lot of nodes to do this. And so we'll structure it like this, basically exactly how we showed, left and down. And past that, we'll have the pre-multiply after. And if this is still very confusing to you, don't worry. We're going to take it step by step. And as we go through it, you'll understand. You'll start to get an understanding of how to go about doing this. So first things first, what we want to do is pre-processing our green screen. So sometimes when you're creating these keyers, for example, if we want to do a key just for this whole shot and maybe another key for this hair, sometimes it's better to denoise the footage first, and the majority of the time it's better. So what we're going to use is a denoise node here. So I'm going to go through this structure that I've created first to show you guys an overview of the process, and then I'm going to redo it so that you guys can follow along directly. But first, I just want to show you guys, yes, we need to pre-process our footage first. So we send it off to left here, and we put a denoise node. And Nuke's denoiser, again, I think I already mentioned this, but it does an okay job. If you push it too far, you can start to lose details. You see if we push the denoise amount here, if you double click the denoise and kind of slide that over, we start to lose a little bit of detail. So you got to be careful around the hair and different areas like that. So yeah, that's basically how we can pre-process our footage. Really, you just chuck the denoise on there, and you don't have to change too much. You just plug it in, and we take our sample area, put it on a flat area, and it does a kind of decent job. And you can play with some of these settings here. If you want to know every single slider in here, you can basically read them if you hover your mouse over them. So for example, luminance blend, it says you can blend the denoised luminance with the original. So maybe if it's losing too much detail, you could kind of play around with this and try to get some detail back. So that's kind of what the slider is doing. And so you can go through and you basically read these. The majority of the time, it does a pretty good job just by default, and I kind of just usually just use the denoise amount. But if you're looking for a more specific result, there's other settings that you can, again, hover over here. Preserve edges is kind of a good one as well. So if we take a look, it's making a very, very tiny difference in our case. Now, I would say you don't often have to play too much with tuning frequencies or anything like that. Like I said, in order to simplify, the majority of the time, you just need to play the denoise amount and potentially the luminance blend or the smoothness, and you'll usually get a good enough result for what we're doing. There are more advanced denoisers like the reduced noise plugin. I think I mentioned this, but yeah, that's pretty much all we need to talk about for that. So just remember, denoise your footage first before we start doing our keys. So now we can move on and start building up this key in a logical way and building a script in a shape that kind of is modular, so we can insert things and adjust things as necessary. So we're going to start talking about that, and we'll also talk about